Yes, let's do it.
All right. Hey, well, welcome all my current and future go-getters. My name's Terrell Curry, founder and managing partner at Infinite Business Strategies. And I'd like to thank you for joining our IBS Let's Talk About It conversations with one of the business's leading strategists, Ronald Suggs. And we're going to be talking about a topic that most don't take the time to build a strategy around, and that's your personal brand. How you doing, Ryan?
I'm doing great, Terry. Thanks for having me on. I tell you, this is exciting. Watch your weekly broadcast religiously, so I appreciate you adding me on this week. Looking forward to it.
All right, very good. I'm so excited about this conversation. I've been actually looking forward to this for the past week. Hey, Ryan, so do me a favor. How about you kind of tell our viewers a little bit about yourself?
Good. Well, I have been in the marketing and sales space for most of my career. I had a stint in retail and understanding brands, understanding how to sell, understanding how to how retail and CPG interact. CPG meaning consumer products and goods. So that's been my career. I'm a father of four, married to a wonderful person, Cassandra Suggs, and that's who I am.
No, it's funny. So I know you personally. So you say father of four. You have four grown-ups in the house.
Yeah. So that's exciting. Exciting to see those guys grow up and then, finally branch out on their own. So it's exciting to see.
Awesome, awesome. And I know one of the topics that we talk about today, you talk about with your kids. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about that in the end. But
Okay,
I'm very excited, Ron. That was an exciting intro. But I'm gonna jump right into it if that's okay.
perfect.
All right. So nowadays you often hear people use the phrase personal branding. But what
Mhm.
exactly is personal branding in your view, and why does it even matter?
That's a good question. And there's a lot of thoughts around personal branding. But to sum it up, it's really perception, your perception, and what reality is, and the intersection between the two. So it's what you think about yourself and then what others think about you.
I'll say I love that. The intersection between perception and reality. That's a great tidbit. So let me ask you another question. In your
Mhm.
opinion, what types of people should take the time and effort to manage their personal brand? Is this just for corporate professionals, for business owners, for entertainers, students, people just trying to get a job?
It's interesting because most people would think that that would be the case, but everyone has a brand. Whether you know it or not, your brand has been developing since you were born, right? So you have become something. You're known for something. Your reputation, which is another word for saying personal branding, it's already been built. And so it's for any and everyone that exists because we all have a brand and we want to make sure that whatever our reputation is, we want to make it the best and put our best foot forward.
And that's a very good point. That's a little scary also that I've been building my brand since I was born. Right now, I'm not trying to tell my age, but I have grown kids also. What are some of the things in today's age help contribute to your personal brand? And what should people be aware of? Because things are different now than they were when we were younger and trying to build that brand for the first time.
That's a good question. I think it all boils down to self-awareness. Understand who you are, what you are, and why you exist, right? So if you think about it from that standpoint, uh, having a friend or someone that you trust or a group of friends tell you the reality of who you are and what you are, right? So we have this thought about who we are, and there's also a thought about what our perception is and all of that kind of stuff. And so your perception is based on what you put in front of you, to be quite honest, what you read, what you listen to, who you hang out with, what you do on social media, what you see. And I was talking to an individual at a conference and it was on a panel. And one of the questions was asked, what would you tell your young self as you start to build your career? He said, be careful of what you put on social media because every tweet or comment that you make on social media is housed somewhere and more than likely is housed in the Library of Congress. So people can pull up things about you and things that you said from years past. And sometimes comments you make, things you post, can have either a positive effect or a negative effect on your personal brand. So I would look at all of those areas, and then look at internally and say, what am I projecting? So am I projecting something that I want the world to know? Or am I projecting something that I don't want people to know? Or if I look back 10 years from now or 5 years from now, would it be something that would help me or hurt me?
Wow, that's very interesting and scary at the same time. What I kind of heard you say is that people are kind of always watching, right? People are always looking at you. You're always building your brand. So let's say I
Mhm.
wanted to be purposeful about building my brand. What are some of those basic steps that a person can take to build or improve their personal brand?
That's a good question. There's a lot of thought around that in the industry. And what I said earlier, when you talk about self awareness, take inventory of what you have and what you don't have internally, right? So if I want to be best in class, if I'm a business, if I want to be best in class, I need to look internally and say, what tools do I have to allow me to be best in class, right? So I need to take inventory. And then I need to take and look at exactly where I want to be and what I want to project. And if I don't have those things internally, then I need to find a way to get those things in my toolbox. And then the second thing would be to network, right? So really network and be around people that you can learn from, people that will challenge you, and then people you can actually mentor. So it's kind of like, having a mentor, being a mentor, and having a peer to just really challenge you. Much like what you and I do, Terry. We literally challenge each other every day. After every meeting, every call that we have, we challenge each other and we look for ways that we could have either done it better or we could have pulled back or whatever the case may be. But I think that those things are important. Also, take a look at your passions. What are you passionate about? Because when you think about dreams, all of us have dreams, but dreams fade, but your passion for something continues. So really hone in on what you're passionate about and start to build things around that. You can actually take your passion, tell your story, and present it to the world. And I think that those are the things that really helps build your brand.
Wow, what golden nuggets. Following your passion stays with you. You mentioned also surrounding yourself with people. I had a gentleman once tell me that you're an average of the 5 people that you spend the most time around. Now, that's interesting and for me scary because I was building my brand when I had people around me that I probably shouldn't have been around. So let me ask you another question.
Yeah.
What if you've kind of built your brand, perhaps whether it's in one career or it's kind of a different stage in your life, like a lot of us mature, as time goes along, but now you want to reinvent yourself and create a new brand. What are some of those steps you can take to kind of rebrand yourself?
Again, so you go back to the inventory piece. There are certain things that are transferable, no matter what industry you go in. People are going to always look for character. They're going to always look for leadership. They're going to always look for people that are active in learning. And so those things are important. Be an active learner. Really learn to tell your story and tell it in a succinct way. And because you have experiences that are uniquely yours, no matter who you're competing with in the world, whether it's a job or another business, there's things that are uniquely you. Understand what they are, create a story around it, and then share it with people. And I think that when you're in an interview and people understand your story, because they know when you come in there that you have certain skills, right? I mean, they expect that. But what they don't know is about you and your story. What drives you? What are your passions? And how does your passion fit into what we're trying to do? Even if it's an industry that you don't know much about, your ability to want to learn, be an active listener, active learner, helps you make that transition.
Very good point.
Hopefully that
Very
answers
good
the
point.
question.
Yes, you did, and more, and more. So I'll put a different perspective on it because I know you mentioned your kids. I know I mentioned my kids also, and I know we talked to them about their personal brand, especially when it comes to social media. Because when I
Mhm.
was coming up, I didn't have social media. You know, if
Mhm.
I want to like someone, I have to go to someone and tell them, hey, I like it. You know, it's not
Exactly.
something that's instant. It's not something that stays on in the cloud for people to see forever. So let's say
Mhm.
one of our viewers, they're trying to rebrand themselves, but they realize they've made a few mistakes in the past. You know, they've posted a couple things they shouldn't. What would you suggest they actually do to start that first step in rebranding themselves?
To be quite honest, um, even though I said earlier a lot of stuff is housed, I would look at going through those things that don't represent me well in my social media and take it off. If it doesn't represent what I want it to be, take it off. Be careful of what you like. Be careful of what you retweet and things like that. If it doesn't fit in your value structure, if it doesn't fit in what you want to project, if it doesn't fit in who you want to be and who you are, don't retweet it. Even if it's funny, there's things that I see that come across social media that's funny. And I'm like, do I like this? Do I pass it on? So I choose not to because for me, does it really fit in what I'm trying to do? There's things that are entertaining, but does it really fit? And so I would look at it from that standpoint, and I would really start to project and build those things that you want to project. So, for instance, if I want, again, I've talked about being best in class. If I want to be best in class, then what does best in class people do? What do they read? What do they think about? Um, my passion, work story. What is that about? Can the world use what I have? And more than likely, the things that we're passionate about, somebody can use. Learn to tell that story and be consistent with telling that story. And so the more you do that, you'll drown out some of those things you may have done in the past. And people can see that, wow, this person has a newer perspective. Even if they followed you in the past, they're looking for the fact that you have a new perspective and you're projecting that. So when I didn't want to listen to you before, now I want to listen to you. Now I understand that you've matured and you've grown in areas.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. You know, Ron, I keep you in my inner circle for a reason. I know you used to tell me all the time, Terry, you got to have truth tellers around you. You know, when you're
Yes.
building your brand, why is it so important to have those tellers around you?
Again, when we talked earlier about this whole perception and reality,
Mhm.
sometimes we believe things in our own mind and we think that, hey, this is who I am. And people that really love you and care about you, they're going to tell you the truth. And you have to be willing to listen to that. Don't argue with it. If it's something that they're sharing that is truthful, you know deep down inside that it is. You know that there's some merit there. You know that they care about you and they're seeing things that you may not see. Surround yourself with people like that. Even if you're going to put together a presentation or go into an interview or whatever the case may be, have people around you that tell you the truth so that you get a better perspective of what it is. And you want to have multiple people that do that because you don't want just one perspective. You want multiple perspectives. So you kind of see yourself from a 360 view based on the people you have around you. And they'll tell you because what do they want the most? They want you to be your very, very best. What do you want the most? You want to be your very, very best. And then having a truth teller around you also means that you have to be a truth teller. You have to be that for someone else. And this whole thing about branding, it's not what you can get from someone else, it's what you can give to them, right? So when you become passionate about something that you want to share and give, what people realize that you have value and they want what you're trying to share, much like these programs that you're having. You're sharing some things that are good nuggets for folks and businesses to be able to grab, to be better at what they do. And so I want to be a part of it. I get on these live programs because there's nuggets, even though I'm around you a lot, I've known you for more than 2 decades, I get nuggets every time. So when that happens, it makes me better.
Awesome. That is awesome. Well, I tell you what, since you have known me and you know me well, you probably knew that I was going to put you on the spot at some point during this interview, right? So I
Wait,
know, you know, a week or so ago, we were having a group meeting with our
sweat,
interns and we
I'm
were
sweating.
asking them about their personal branding. Yeah, you should sweat, right? And I know we were asking them, first of all, how do people perceive you today? And
Mhm.
how do you think people perceive you today? And what things are you working on to improve your personal brand? So I'm going to spin it and ask you the exact same question. What is Ron Suggs known for today? And what are you working on to improve?
Well, hopefully people can understand that I'm passionate. I'm passionate about leadership. I'm passionate about um, excellence and a pursuit of excellence. And so I do things to really help foster that environment. So I try to read more, become an active listener, being around people that can challenge me, like I said earlier, and then mentors that can really teach me some things. I think if you look at it, there's a lot that I can learn. No matter how long I've been in business, there's a lot that I can learn. If I believe I've gotten to the place where I've learned as much as I can learn, then I've capped out. So I keep that broad. I want to learn. I want to learn different industries. I want to have a pulse of what's going on around me. And I always want to have a pulse on taking inventory of me personally to see if my perception and my reality in that intersection is matching. So I take inventory often, active learner, active listener, and I stay around people that challenge me.
Wow, I love it. So you're always learning and you're always moving, right? And in
All
your own words, if you're not moving,
you're behind. So there's no in
yeah,
between. Yeah, you're either appearing or you're disappearing. No in
I
between.
love it. Appearing or disappearing. I love it. I love it. That is awesome. Well, you know what, Rod? I've heard you tell me before, successful people work on success. And, I appreciate
Yes.
how you work on success. You push me and all those that we're around to work on success. Successful
Yes.
businesses value their brand. Shouldn't you value your brand? If businesses do it and you represent that business and they expect you to do it, why aren't you valuing your brand? Another point, Ron, that I just wanted to point out, you talked
Okay.
about being an active listener, but is active listening, tell me exactly, what does that mean? Does that mean just listening with your ears?
That means paying attention, asking clarifying questions to make sure you understand. So it's one thing to nod your head. It's another thing to say, to rephrase that question if you don't have clarity, right? To gain clarity. Because that's important. Because if you walk away with more questions and answers when you're listening to a conversation, then maybe you haven't listened enough. You haven't been active in listening. So it's about understanding it, it's about communicating back what you've heard to make sure when you walk away that there's clear understanding of what's being said, what's being received, and what the action steps are moving forward.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Gold nuggets once again from Mr. Suggs. So communication is part of your personal brand, also how you communicate. Because don't assume that everyone's good at it, right? I've learned that the hard way along my career. Very good.
Skills that
Very good. Well,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, raising kids, we talked about how we raise kids. And there's things that you say to your kids and they're shaking their head. And then when you realize later on, it didn't connect. So, I mean, that's a good way to really practice is when you talk to your kids, if you have small kids, make sure they understand. That's a good way. So if you're communicating to them and they're understanding it and the actions line up with what you're saying, then you encourage them and then it helps them become active listeners as well. So,
That's very good. That's very good. So I'm gonna ask you one more question, and then this is the last one, I promise. So I know you've been in several executive positions, and sometimes when you're in one of those roles, you get people around you that are afraid to challenge things that you say. They're afraid to ask
mhm.
questions. How do you encourage them to be more active in giving you their thoughts?
Well, I think first you have to create the environment. Again, when I'm in meetings, I leave titles at the door. This is about a working session. This is about bringing in the best and brightest from different parts of the organization. Because if you're in a position, the ideal is you're the best at what you do in that position. So when you come to the table, you create the environment where you give everyone a voice. Now we understand that there's decisions that has to be made by the leader, but you create the environment where there's a voice. And don't whack-a-mole someone if they say something that's out of line. You ask clarifying questions to make sure you understand exactly what it is. Because once you shut someone off, I mean, cut them off, you're going to set the tone for everyone else. Well, I'm not going to say anything because I may say something that may be wrong or off strategy or whatever the case may be. And so you create the environment where people can talk and feel comfortable talking because, again, you want truth tellers around you. Because at the end of the day, if I'm the smartest person in the room, if I'm the only one that have the ideas, then I've missed it because I only have one brain, right? And so when you have multiple brains in the room, you have multiple points of views. And again, you can look at that thing from a 360 standpoint. So net, create the right environment where people can feel comfortable saying what they want to say and what they need to say for that particular subject. Now, if there's things that are going awry, then you want to make sure you have an environment where people can capture those thoughts and we can deal with those later so we can focus on the task that's in front of us.
Awesome. Another Ron's Golden Nugget. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, you just heard some of the personal branding from Ron Suggs himself. He was unaware of that question, but I knew it was in him. And that's what happens. You're known for your leadership abilities. You're known
Mm-hmm.
for the soft skills that you have. You're known for people being motivated by having conversations with you. And I appreciate you about that as well. Well, you know what, guys? We always tell people that you don't have to be the expert. You just need to know the expert. And you know what? At Infinite Business Strategies, we know what success looks like. So if you're wondering about your branding, if you're wondering about the branding of yourself, of your business, and you want some help, you're just trying to take yourself and your business to that next level, feel free to reach out to us. You can go to our website at infinitebusinessstrategies.com at the bottom of any page and schedule a free conversation. We can talk about your exact needs, or you can join one of our strategy workshops. We have a virtual workshop actually coming up in a couple of weeks. You can join us there as well. Or let's say that you think you're a little bit more mature, but you still have a next level you're trying to get to in your business. Have us come out and do a maturity assessment. We can assess you, your leadership team, help them build their personal brands, your brand, and take your business to the next level. Well, I'd like to thank you all for joining our conversation. Ron, I'd like to thank you for those great words of wisdom. How about you kind of give us some last words to close us out?
Well, I tell you what, next week is going to be exciting. Next week is going to be